No, mic.
which is not so easy.
Yeah.
And then you got a probably enough support from Udhay. So, Dr. Maithily and Dr. Udhay. So, first of all, thank you very much for your time and coming to my podcast. Um, so, I knew you guys, I think since 2017. Um, Actually, during the event of Diwali festival, which actually happened in Max Planck Institute of Solar Research in Göttingen, right? So at the time, my kid Sindhu, I think she was 1 year old, and you guys were just arrived there. I mean, in Germany. In your case, you came to do your PhD. Just finished your masters, and then you came to do your PhD. I remember, and you came to do masters at that time. And yeah, I still remember that how you played with my kid and those days. And since then, the time was very fast. So you guys finished your both. You finished your PhDs, and then you were already into the postdocs since quite long. And then recently you also became parents. So congratulations for that. So that's what actually makes the podcast unique in your case. So I really excited to ask you. So what change the kid actually brought you in your life? So before and after.
Hmm. Yeah, sure. So, as you said, we recently gave birth to a beautiful baby boy named Adiran. Um, so, before he was born, we used to like roam around whenever we want, wherever we want. We never used to think, okay, we have to take care of him, or we have to come on time at home, or we have to do this for him, etc. But as he has arrived, every time we are on our toes to figure out, okay, his feeding time is there after 2 3 hours, so we have to be at home, or we can't go here because it's too cold, etc. Maybe these are more of taking care points, but also of course he got a lot of positive vibes at our home. We have started getting more joyful. We are always like happy because of his different developmental stages. He starts smiling out of nowhere. It's really beautiful to see those moments. Also his developmental phases where he tries to roll, he tries to see us, and also recognizes our voices or our faces. And these are really like, when we see someone else's kid it's different, but when you see your own kid
Yes.
doing this, it's really emotionally different. So that's really a positive vibe between us. Also it's a kind of responsibility as parents that we have now on a serious note, which we have to really take care. I also believe that when kids like grow as a personality later, this really is rooted from the childhood. So this is really in our mind that whatever we teach him or whatever we behave within ourselves is really grounded into him, and later after his adult life he would become as a person like that. So this really has a huge impact on the personality, and we are looking forward to grow him as a better person later.
That's good to hear. So apart from the positive vibes, what challenges actually? I mean, to the like top challenges that he actually brought to you.
I mean, as parents, the dad's role is comparatively less compared to the mom's role, because the mom
Definitely.
has to feed, the mom has to um, kind of like, she knows better than a dad. Like, I can help her with the diaper change, I can feed him with a bottle, but like with having that feeling of like, is he feeling okay or not, directly by having a glimpse of him, is only possible by a mom. At least like in case of us, like it's only possible with Maithili. But to me, it's also more stressful as a mom, because like feeding him, like yeah, bottle feeding is quite easy. Take a bottle, like put it in his mouth, and he starts drinking. But like when you're feeding him as a mom, then you have to take care of hold him in a certain position, and uh, it's not easy. Like try holding a cup for like 5 minutes in one position, like it'll start aching, and like it's not easy. And like she has to do that like every half hour, every uh, 2 hour once every half hour she has to do that, and it's quite uh, painstakingly tough to handle. And like after seeing her do things, like now I'm also like thinking like how my mom took care of me, and like how much pain she had to go through just to make me cross that critical phase of my life.
The empathy develops soon after we experience ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. So, how many times he's getting up in the night?
I mean, that depends from day to day, and like how much.
Phases he's going through, like he's
Yes.
going through different developmental phases. So for the first month, since he was a newborn, it was really to the clock every 3 hours, and feeding time by itself takes at least half an hour to 45 minutes with change in diaper, etc., and burping him and then making him sleep. But since that was a newborn phase and he needed a lot of sleep to conserve his energy, he was really taking those 3 hours straight. But as he's growing, he's also going through different changes in himself. So there are different growth spurts that he experiences, and for example, in week 8, it was like he was waking up after every half an hour or 1 hour. He wants to have this cluster feeding
So
thing.
this phase is called cluster feeding phase, where like they would like to drink every half hour and then go to sleep and wake up in half hour or 1 hour, and then again wants to drink until they are fed. They literally cry non-stop.
Yeah, also this happens at night. It is a lot of patience taking work, that you know that he wants you. He is going through this phase of cluster feeding, which means you need to be with him. You can't change that.
You also have to sleep consciously.
Yes, that you
And
never.
moreover, like night sleep is night sleep. Like you like until like he was born, like we used to sleep like 6 to 8 hours straight, and then like after he was born, like we sleep 2 hours straight and then wake up, feed him. And like let's say like my part is still less compared to what my leaders. Like I can change the diaper like within 5-10 minutes and then go back to sleep, but like she has to hold him and make him feed for half hour. So I mean,
Yeah, like the
what I
night.
come to say is like the night hours are quite hectic for Maithili, and as parents together, it's quite hectic. And Maithili right now is in parental leave, but I still work. So
There's a wonderful system in Germany. I really liked it.
Yeah, it's really useful for both the parents. It's not just for mother, it's also for father, which shows how equal responsibility both of us have in this journey. So that's really beautiful. Like we can together take 14 months of parental leave, where we can choose who wants to take how much, and it's really flexible, where we really be at home completely without any work stress, totally focus on him and his need at that time. Especially the first year is quite needful for the babies. So even as a father, they can take a lot of responsibility up, and it's convenient as both working parents.
Break is a break, especially for scientists. Yeah, it's not that easy. Like you just leave the lab and then take the leave, right? Somehow you need to keep the stuff which are going on in the lab in the some corner in your mind, and still have to maybe like at least till you completely hand over the stuff to someone else. Something should be running in your mind, right? How do you cope up with that?
Yeah, it was quite tough in my case to have this transfer of information in the lab, transfer of my whole role, which is to a different person, and the different person looks at it in a different perspective. So to show your perspective of a particular scientific question you're asking is challenging. Not just questions like simple stuffs that you use in lab, even though some people might think it's a pipette or it's just some chemical or some solutions that you have made, but still to transfer that was not easy. So I really took time to talk to that person in peace, and even though to me it is just spending my time and efforts, but still to keep up the scientific work that we have been doing since so long, not to hinder that work just because of a transfer, even though it's a different person who is going to take care of that work later. It was difficult, but managed to do so far.
So, a sensitive question. So, does this kind of leave, parental leave, especially for women, does this give you a little bit of insecurity, like you are little bit going far from your uh, professional things, and kind of maybe take some time to come back, or I can come back at the right time or not, something like that?
Yes, definitely. So, before becoming a parent, I was working like full time in lab. Never, I mean, we did our home chores in the evening or weekends, but after having a baby, it's a combination of home chores and taking care of baby. That's all. Like, so this is a sudden change for me, that from working full time, full 8 9 hours a day, to just now taking home responsibility and the baby responsibility. This is definitely a huge change. And talking about the professional insecurity that I get, I have already started getting that. And sometimes when I get free time, while he's sleeping or something, I also read some scientific papers to keep me updated. After few days, even I recognize that okay, I have some time and I can do something useful in this time. I also spoke to my boss that, you know what, I have 2 3 hours a day. If you feel like giving me something which keeps me into.
This is more challenging.
Yeah, I recognize that after few days, because he has different phases where one day is completely fine, the other day is needful. It is challenging, but at the same time, to feel more secure that I still am not so much cut away from the science that is going on, at least by doing some work, some reading, some writing work, some literature survey, it would still keep me
Though it
updated.
is not required, uh, but
Because once I have to get back to work, it should not feel like okay, I don't know what happened in the last months at all in this field, and you're outdated, for example, and you want to answer some questions, but you don't know what had happened before in this field. So
so
I
it's not like completely switching off the professional thing and then completely focusing. Just you splitting into two, right? Yourself. You're actually doubling your two Maithilis. So one Maithili is always taking care of, at least to be on track of, or at least not to lose the track. Then at the same time to focus on your personal life, which is not so easy.
yeah.
Yeah. And then you got a probably enough support from Uday.
Yes, definitely. I mean, even though he
Because
has
it's also
to.
not as equal as you, but at least it's also a kind of burden for him also, right?
Yes, I think, I mean, he works the whole day. It's lab work and other responsibilities like teaching and so on. It's not easy. It's really 8 9 hours of work. And as soon as he's back home, it's again baby. That routine is still going on. Every 2 3 hours, he's gonna wake up. He doesn't care if it's day or evening or something. So once Uday is back, that routine is still going on, and I'm so sometimes so tired from the whole day of the same routine. So once he's back, I sometimes just give him like, okay, you take care for some time. I at least need to eat something or have a shower or cook food or something like this. But from his side, he really does take care that okay, I get at least half an hour of free time from him, give milk by bottle, or sometimes even I have tried, okay, I go for a walk and come because I need fresh air. I'm just at home the whole day and I can freely go keeping the baby with him and not to worry what is he doing, is he crying,
One
etc.
bullet question. Does he say, why don't you forget about your professional to just enjoy your baby, or he also supports you in to maintain both?
I think he always supported me with my career. So he does support me to maintain both. Like he tells it's stressful for you. So you need to figure out how are you gonna do this, not to stress yourself much because also night I'm half awake almost. So daytime is the time when I can try to relax. So if you're using that 2-3 hours also to do your professional stuff, then you don't get relaxation at all. This he has told me the downside of still continuing to read or do some stuffs related to professional life, but he said you need to know how to balance it, like do one day and then other day relax, don't pressurize yourself. So these are the points he has definitely told me, that there are limitations of what you're gonna do, but I am in full support of what you want to do.
Because this is a very crucial situation after getting a baby, especially for women, to drop out of the or lose the track of career. And what do you think? How to hold that?
I'm trying to figure out how to hold it, but still, I think the first point is your motivation. Like you need to be motivated to still continue after having the baby. Let's say after 1 year, um, if your willpower is already dropping down, oh okay, now I'm taking care of him and the house stuffs, and okay, that's I'm settled there and I'm not interested in moving further with the professional life, then it's a no go. But if first of all, if you are really passionate to still continue, that will keep you up even though after 1 or 2 years of break. And
I think most of the women, they actually want to hold. Uh, it's a though they have a motivation. I think they should have some energy to hold that motivation. And what else they need? I mean,
Support.
support, I think it's the
support.
support.
Yeah, that's a
Yes,
good point.
support from your husband
And also
specifically.
support from your uh, company. What do you say? Your boss,
Yes, from the
management.
boss,
That's very
definitely.
important, right?
Yes. Yeah,
I mean,
like,
more than that, like support from the family is important because, like, it's a baby that you are making him grow. So, like, only, I mean, let's say the previous generation, like, if your in-laws say, like, oh, now you have a baby, you can't work, then, like, you are obliged to listen to your in-laws. But if they had supported, it would have been different. But I mean, it again depends from family to family and situation to situation. And for women to stay in their profession is mainly if they are supported by their husband and then the in-laws. So at least for us in our case, like since we are far away from our family, it's like we taking care of each other and then we supporting each other.
yeah,
And then also we have to have in mind about one little human growing with us as well.
yeah.
I mean, to support, to bring our parents, right? Um, yes, it is not difficult to bring the parents here, at least for 3 months. But what actually challenging is to make them stay here happily,
Yes, that's really,
especially in winter.
I
yeah.
mean, that's true. Like that's again going. That's an individual thing that is going to differ from
But most of the parents, what I've experienced is like they wanted to go back.
I think it's the cultural difference that they notice. Apart from cultural difference, it's just the lifestyle. Like in India, you just go out of your home and you talk to 10 people out of just a blink of eye. And here it's pretty calm and silent. So
And also,
this
that is a
different,
huge language barrier. Like here, not everyone speaks English, and then like you have to speak in only German. And then our parents, like say, like in their generation, not everyone are comfortable speaking English as well.
yeah, so just to even
So
go for a walk or go to some place by bus or just use a public transport, until unless you are with them, it's not so
I mean,
easy
first of all,
for.
it's alien for them. It's a different world altogether for them coming here. And on top of it, like they come from like hot places, and this is pretty cold for them, like especially during winters. And then
Yeah.
I'm not sure, like some of our parents even wear like sweaters, even if it is like 15 degrees in the morning. But here, like going to minus 0 degrees or minus, I think.
Yeah, it's a total shock for them. So they don't feel like at home after
They
a
literally
while.
count the
Yeah, the
calendar.
days, when are we going? When are we going? So
I mean, but again, like this depends
on
on
the.
individual basis.
I mean, like most of the cases. Of,
Yes,
Yeah.
of course, there are a few parents. I mean, like my father-in-law used to enjoy. I mean, he used to walk. I mean, like 3 to 4 times a day in summer, also in winter. So it doesn't matter. So he liked it, but most of the parents are like, no. The reason why I'm saying like this, the hence the most of the responsibility, the burden is on ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think our parents coming here, they also have those two phases. Like one phase is to take care of the child and the newborn and mother and father of the newborn. This is their one concern. But at the same time they have to live for 3 months for themselves, which is also challenging for them. So they have the other phase where they look at how am I gonna stay here. So how much ever their heart wants to be here and play with the baby, do our ritual stuffs that usually is done in India for a newborn, or take care of the mother of the newborn, cook healthy food, etc. This they would enjoy, but at the same time, it's not so much good for them to be here with other challenges.
So switching back to a little few years back. So how did you guys met each other?
Yeah, so we met each other in 2016, to be precise, on 20th August. Yeah, 20th August 2016. We met in Independence Day potluck dinner organized by the Indian Association Nirmiti here. So, to really describe the situation, we had this potluck dinner, so different food dishes prepared by different people, mostly the Indian cuisines were kept, and we were standing in a queue to get this food, and we were standing one after the other. So I think I was in front and Uday was behind me, and everyone were new to each other, so everyone were trying to
Since then, he was
introduce.
behind you.
Yeah. Yeah, so he, since everyone were trying to introduce each other, since most of them were new here, he also looked like, we looked at each other, and he said we still have this tagline which we still tease each other with. Like, he told me that we haven't introduced ourselves. I'm Uday, and then I was like, I'm Maithili, and this was really the first sentence we spoke with each other.
Okay.
And then from there we started talking. I think with our mindsets we already had clicked. Since then we could talk for hours, and we had complementary thoughts, but still could make a conversation out of it, and we could still support each other's thoughts, even though sometimes they were different or sometimes they were similar. So yeah, after that we hanged out a lot, either with friends or sometimes just for, I don't know, eating ice cream together, something like this. And from then we, it's been 7 years now.
7 years are
Seven,
complete.
7 years
So
complete.
eighth year running.
Yeah. So we got married on the day we met, also 20th August, but 2021. So we got married exactly 5 years later
From the
on
day
the
of
day
meet.
of we met. That
The dates we can't decide. The
Yes, it
Exactly.
was
It happened.
coincidence. Yeah, so we were, it was a Corona time during our marriage season. So we were really trying to postpone our dates so often. Once we decided in Jan or Feb, then we ended up finalizing even the hall in June. And then again, India was going crazy with this Corona session, Corona season that time. And then finally,
20th of
20th
August
August was
21.
our fate that we really could marry on that day.
when we didn't plan for it. It just like when we saw the possible options of the muhurtam on the dates, then okay, then we saw like 20th August is there. Like there is a reason it is there, and it's a coincidence that we
Yeah.
saw the date, and so then we thought, okay, then we will fix that date.
Your native places are like with a distance of more than 1,000 kilometers,
Yeah,
Almost
right?
yeah,
thousand,
In
yeah.
yes.
India.
Yes.
Yes.
So how did you manage to so because usually we, I mean, prefer to make our parents agree to our marriage. So how did you manage that?
I mean,
Was it challenging for both of you?
for me, like less challenging than for Maithili.
Yeah.
I mean, we agreed like in 2019 that
19.
we will inform our parents about our relationship, and then Maithili kind of just made a hint that like to her dad that like there is someone in her life because he was pressurizing her to marry in the next
Like not he specifically, but in
yeah,
general because of my
like
age
his.
and yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
And then I told my mom for first in 2019,
19.
and then I was a bit hesitant to tell my dad. And then it was also when I told my dad, like he was like, "Okay, you have taken a tough path ahead." And then he said, like, "What is she?" He asked me, like, "What is she doing?" And then like I told, like, she's doing her PhD, or like I think at that
That time
time,
I had just finished.
yeah, something like that. And then
But you didn't finish by the time.
I didn't even start PhD
Ah,
by that time.
okay. That's why you took it a tough path. Okay, anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, I think in
And then I told my
yeah,
dad, and then he spoke with Maithili, and then maybe my Maithili sounded uh, like fine for him, like.
convincing. Yeah.
And then he said, "Okay, then we'll proceed further." Her parents have had to still agree at that point of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then it was Maithili's turn to then inform her parents.
Yeah. So from my side, I had first told my dad, and I still remember this sentence from my dad that if you are saying like this with so much seriousness, which means you would have definitely thought of it, like it's a lifetime decision to be with someone, so you can't just take out of nowhere. If you're saying, which means you really thought of this, and we will see how it is going ahead. But good that you're telling me. This was his first reaction. I'm a single girl child, so the expectations that a family has or parents have in this situation from India, especially coming from India, they have imagined something for their girl in their own way.
Yeah.
So to expect something totally different than their what they have imagined is tough, and I could understand that friction that they were already having. How it is gonna go, is he okay? It's really marriage is not like a joke of 1 or 2 days, it's really a serious thing which is gonna go lifelong. So they had this. So okay, first I still told my dad, and I had my mom had her own expectations, as I said, so I was a little hesitant to tell her in the first go. I knew that at the end they will agree, everything will be fine, but that phase of going through step by step is
You have to face
yeah,
everything
I have
or
we
deal with
have to
everything.
deal with everything. So after few months I tried to tell my mom. In the first reaction or in the first go, she was not completely okay. um, but then again she took her own time, and I gave her that time to show that how serious we are, how he is. So they spoke with each other. They used to speak, I used to make them speak more often, that to understand how is he or how we are as a couple. It took maybe 4 or 5 months that she or both of my parents were in that situation, that okay, maybe this is really serious and we can't change this anymore. So we had come to a point that, you marry us or you don't marry us, but we are not gonna change our decision.
So this reflects how broad our parents actually think. People think usually India is a complex and they have lots of caste, creed, blah 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 blah. Um, but actually what parents think is the safety and the golden future of their kids. Yeah, if those two things, if you um, assure them, then I think everything is
I think
Even
so too.
her
Yeah.
dad was also broad-minded. Like he mentioned the sentence, like you both are scientists. Like previously, like the caste system was based on the profession that you do. So if Maithili is a researcher and if I'm a researcher, then we are of technically the same caste.
So our
So
thought process is similar. We can really understand each other's professionally, personally, and this is what life is all about. So,
I mean, there
um,
are like she thinks in a different perspective, or her thinking process is different than mine. But like at the end, like we adapt to each other, and then like we come to a single point from which we move on. So that's what something like, even though like if you are from the same caste, like the thinking process can be different, and then like there can be um, misunderstandings, and we have to anyways like go through that, like whether you come from the same caste or not. So
yeah.
it's finally the two minds and the two hearts that has to come in same line and same frequency, or like come to an understanding.
so at the young age. How many negotiation skills you guys usually in India we develop? You see.
Yeah. I mean, in Indian culture, with the wedding, there are a lot of stereotypes with that. It should be from same caste, it should be in this way, in the same financial status, etc. Which maybe a part of India still has that, but I think India is really developing quite in a good progress with this. We are an example
Yes, that's what I want to project.
that we are not from same state, we totally speak different languages, we still have small cultural differences because we come from different states, but at the end we are married
Yes.
successfully, happily, and have a small baby as well. So
I mean, not only becoming scientists. So you also like, and you published in peer like one of the top peer reviewed journals, right? So the question is, if both wife and husband want to thrive in their careers, especially when they want to make a family, babies, right? They have to stick to a place and then they have to thrive in their careers, which is even more challenging, right? Who wants to sacrifice for whom, for what? So this is the most toughest challenges, but how did you overcome this?
I mean, it's always a thing. Like one has to be flexible in this. Like it's not like one is always flexible and one is rigid. It depends on the situation and depends on the
need of
need of
the
that
time.
particular point. One has to stay rigid and the other has to stay flexible. So and again, like that can differ from individual to individual, situation to situation. But this might help at least to stay together, but still at least achieve what one of them wants to achieve.
Yeah.
And again, like in research, so to me, like I always think like there is always a way to build or like to thrive from a situation. It's not completely lost when you think like you think there is a path and that path closes. We should not always think like that is completely gone. Like another path will open up and then you can thrive in that direction.
Yeah. So what I think is, if you fix few parameters, like whatever happens, we stick to the place. Whatever happens, we stick to these economic situations. We stick to the making babies or whatever family. Then, on that basis, you have to plan how to thrive each of your
I think as
careers.
a couple, you need to be really strong here that to understand each other. It could be off working hours. For example, one has to really take care of, I don't know, cells or mice, or have to do some overnight experiments, or you never know what is coming up. So,
You can't either share your things in the lab, right?
like maybe we can share materialistic things. We can ask
I
for
mean,
something
unless
like
we share a same or a common project, I think it's not possible.
Yeah, they
And
Yeah.
should
like,
not come to your
Yeah,
lab and you can't work
exactly.
for it.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
I
So,
mean, that's something is also like, so one possibility is like if she gets a position somewhere, and then if I apply to the same supervisor, and then we find a position for me, then it's possible that like I can also
it's in the
take over
same.
work. And if it's the same project, then like if it's complementary, or like if it's exactly the same and we benefit each other doing those experiments, then it's possible. But as you said, like if it's a different lab, it's not possible, and it's also not professionally good to do
Like help
that,
each other even though we are.
not
uh,
related professionally.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so in professional terms, we try to stay as colleagues rather than husband
Like,
and
I
wife
mean, still
in
like
the.
we work in the same institute right now, but in different under different professors. Uh, for instance, like her role was mainly with maintaining cell culture and doing cell-based assays. And I mean, like at the most, I can like maybe have a look at her cells and see whether it's good or not. But like I can't like really do experiments with them. But so that's the
Yeah.
most we can help staying in the same institute.
Or if we have some doubts, like what do you think of this concept, or can you calculate this for me? I think maybe
Or
I'm
like,
right, but can you cross check for me? Or some things like this
or
we
like she
can
can
do.
also like tell like the workflow of a certain experiment, and then like I have some expertise and like some things that I can help her with. So those kind of things we still do, even though like as a couple, like I help her out with her stuff, and she helps me out with my research works. She gives me ideas like, okay, like you can try this. But again, like apart
This
from
much
this, we
help we
can't.
can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Maithili, can you tell what is your major research about in a simple terms?
Yes, I will try to tell in simple terms, in
Yeah, we'll
layman
see.
term. If not, stop me. Please stop me.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So basically, in our lab, we work on different redox processes that happen in a heart. So we use different models to understand how these redox processes function and how it can have an impact on our cardiac function. We use mouse models. We also use cell culture system, and recently we have also started using human induced pluripotent stem cells. So we differentiate these cells into mature cardiomyocytes. So cardiomyocytes, in simple terms, the majority of the heart cells that we have, which are responsible for the beating of the heart as well. So we culture these cells and try to mimic the cardiac situation in human, and then to understand how this functions, especially in our case the focus is on the redox processes. We use different tools to understand the function of the heart.
So, redox in the sense toxicity to the heart cells.
Yeah, so there are various chemical reactions happening in a cell. Uh, for example, there are.
I think I'm going too deep, right? No, no, no. I'm
Maybe
what I'm going
I
to say, to understand normal, like mm, uh, there will be some bad chemicals
yeah.
which can come through smoking or food or whatever,
Yes, exactly.
and that damages heart cells.
Yeah.
So, kind of,
Yeah.
you're studying
So
how
they
to deal with that.
stress, they create a stress which is
Stress.
called oxidative stress in
Okay.
these cells, and we try to figure out the pathways which are responsible or which change because of this stress, and how to, if we figure out which is the particular protein or which is the particular molecule that is hindered because of this stress in the cell, is there any way to change that and make it better and not go through this stress.
Wonderful.
So
It's cool. So, you can also share if some achievements that you made in this your career.
Yeah, sure. So I finished my PhD in 2019, and at the same time, I applied for my own postdoc startup grant. Uh, so that I get a kickstart for my actual research life, because PhD is still more of that you are under the guidance of someone, you are not so much independent. So to become a little more independent, I applied for the startup grant which I got.
What is the name of the grant?
So it was given by the International Research Training Group, which is funded by DFG. So this Deutsche Forschungsgemeinschaft in Germany. This gave me
6 months.
6 months of money for my own project.
That's a good kickstart
Yes,
to
it's
start as a
really,
fresh postdoc, right?
yes, and you, since you have got that money by yourself, you know the value of it. You
Mm.
know how you have got it, like what all you had to do for that. So you really use it with care, and you start understanding how to get fundings, how to run a project with these fundings that you get, and how to carefully run it, like not to use all the money at the
Yeah.
same time. You start analytical thinking, like okay, I can spend this much on this thing, but no, maybe this is more important. So this was really a kickstart for my postdoc
But how
career.
did you get the idea to apply to this kind of fellowships or scholarships? Because usually after, even before finishing your PhD, we start applying, writing to PIs, right,
Yeah,
for postdocs.
I think I would like to give this credit to my my supervisor, really, like uh, the I'm not getting the word, the
He encouraged you.
encourage, she encouraged, or it's the awareness is the word. So the awareness of that you just don't work uh, with someone else's funding, but you can also try for your own, and you try to become independent.
Independent. Yes.
And in research, this is really important, that you gain your own confidence and try to think in that perspective. So she told me, you write this completely, the grant. I'm not gonna look into it, because if I start looking into it, I will try to help you, and that's not my or that's not your grant, then it becomes my proposal. So if you want someone's help, you can take some senior postdocs help to see if your writing grant proposal is fine or not, but let it be your own individual proposals. Usually these grant proposals are divided into several parts, where first we need to know the background of that topic, what we are writing the proposal,
The application
the
process.
application. So you really need to go into deep literature survey and tell that this is already done, and then the next step is what you want to do
And
and
why
why
it is
is it
important.
necessary. So these are the first three important points that you need to cover, and then you also need to show that you have created a base for this already. So my PhD work was the base for this proposal, where I should show some preliminary data that this has been done, and this has been successfully characterized so far. So if you give me this money, then I make sure that it also answers the question of what I explained, why is it necessary. Once this is more of a scientific part, but the later part is also we need to explain how you divide the money and how you use the money. So you really need to give a budget of breaking apart the total money that you're gonna get.
Like
For example,
salary.
salary, or you are gonna hire someone, or you're gonna buy some instrument, or if in my case it was a lot of mouse work, so I had to really explain one mouse costs this much, and then its breeding costs this much, or it's just
Care.
having him in the cage and taking care of him, one mouse costs this much, I need these many mice for my experiment, so in total it would be this much. So I really need to split apart the money and show that what I'm going to do is going to be really useful for this field.
So you will learn a lot of things even before you start,
Yes, postdoc.
finances and different things, right?
Mm. So this was my one of my major achievements as a transition from PhD to postdoc. And then in between, other achievements are like I applied for one of the travel grants, and then went for a conference, gave a talk there. The other
Then she was an invited speaker in one of the conferences where one of the Nobel laureates was the keynote
keynote
speaker.
speaker.
So
So I could meet and
interact with
understand and
them.
interact. How are their perspective?
As
So
part of this grant, so you did
Yeah,
travel
no, this
apart
was
from this.
apart
like
from. So
achievements, like and then also publishing in this Nature Communications, which is one of the
Yeah, yeah. So I think
yes, so
maybe you
this
can talk
was
about a little bit about the nature communications,
yes.
public nature communications.
Communications,
publications.
yes. So this was a story, or this project was a story of or I really started this project as a part of my last stage of PhD. So this was started in 2018 or 19 beginning, um, with a mouse model. So usually mouse model really takes a long to be approved and then start breeding
Yes.
and actually doing the characterization experiment. And with the mouse, especially the project that I was dealing with, I wanted to have a positive line. So I really need to screen hundreds of mice just to isolate the cardiomyocytes from their heart and do some microscopy studies to really see if it is reacting the way I want or not. And I think I worked on this to just see one positive line for 6 to 7 months. And I still remember it was July 2019 when, so I started maybe in Jan 2019, and July or August 2019, after 6 7 months, I saw these cells which were actually reacting, and I really had goosebumps that time, that okay, I have finally found a positive line which actually works. And from here, this was my base of the project. So just to even get the base, it took me like 6 7 months, and I was proud that time because the whole work that I did was by my own, and like not taking much help from someone, and you running your own project was
A typical dream of every scientist.
yes. Right. So after that, as research goes, you never know like how it is going to proceed further. So you have a particular scientific question in your mind which you're trying to answer by doing different experiments, and probably at some point you discover something else is happening, and then you go to that path and then try to ask different questions. So this went on for, so this work was published in 2023. So it took 5 to 6 years for such a
Yeah.
big project to I would not say I end, but still
Also, like minimum required at typical time, right?
for the nature publications, yes. So and then going through that review process after submission of the project to this journal, and then getting different perspectives from different reviewers, like why did you do this, why didn't you do this, can you answer this in some way, do these experiments, and then they give you this limit of time
Yeah,
where
the whole the process you had to deal with yourself because you have started this and you.
so by the time this project had developed, my supervisor had come to a point that okay, this project is really going well, but it has become more of a disciplinary project where we need more help from other people, also other expertise. So our expertise is limited to this much, but we also would like to have some other people involved. So then
This is where collaborations
yeah,
help us.
exactly. So after a year of work, it became so like we need someone who also takes care of the echocardiography of the mouse heart. We need someone who does proteomic studies. We need someone who does simulation studies. We need someone who can do cloning and other experiments. So at the end, we were a lot of people who were involved in this project, right from master thesis to other postdoc, PhD, and the collaborators from another country or even different labs. So with everyone's efforts of 5 years, we were able to then get it to a nice journal, which all were satisfied with such a big effort.
Interesting.
So that's a first author
Yeah.
Nature Communications paper.
Congratulations for that.
Thank you.
And Uday, could you also talk a bit about your nature publication?
Yes, like I have two indeed. One from rising from my master thesis work, which was on part of protein aggregation and how a certain chaperone is helpful to disaggregate that aggregated protein mass.
Sorry, you also work on. I forgot to ask you questions like which field, what you actually work on.
So right now I work with optogenetics, which is on proteins which are light sensitive or react to light.
Mhm.
And my PhD work was completely based on this protein called neuropsin, otherwise OPN5, which is found right from fishes till that of humans, and then they play a role in non-visual photoreception. That is like it doesn't play a role in our everyday vision, but it still has a light reception and plays a role. And my protein is also UV light sensitive and has been shown to be expressed in deep brain photoreceptors. So my project was to characterize this protein and to also find which pathway it activates. So
Mhm.
the proteins in our eyes, especially in the rods and the cones of our eyes, which helps us to see vision, is also coupling to a pathway which is to keep it in simple terms, like it kind of produces some nucleotide based molecules which is then activating certain ion channels on. So it's
It's a
similar.
complex cascade system, right?
Yes, right. It's like what they call is like the GPCRs, so G protein coupled receptors.
Oh.
So these are like very much important. The GPCRs are very much important in every cell to have or maintain a homeostasis and to make the cell thrive. And these are one of the largest membrane bound protein receptors, which actually performs or makes us perceive things around us as well, like right from vision, sound, taste.
Each time we see the things, it's happening thousands of, hundreds of thousands of times, right?
And yes, like with my project, like our group was the first group to very concretely say that like the OPN5, this protein, is coupling to the GQ signaling cascade, which was previously thought that this protein is coupling to a different signaling cascade, but they didn't perform experiments which would prove that, but we had performed several experiments to prove that GQ is activated in it. But the previous paper were just performing one experiment and telling, oh, it's GI coupled, or at the max two experiments to prove that. But it was also not physiological experiments, somewhere like with extracted proteins, which would then provide inconclusive or false positive result as well. But most of the experiments that we performed during my PhD thesis were done on live cells, and this concretely also showed that it was mostly GQ coupled in our case.
Now, can you explain so that um, in very very simple terms, um, a common man can understand what you achieved, or at least your publication that led to the publication of Nature.
Okay, then it has to go two steps backwards because, as I said, like GPCRs are one of the important receptors in our body, and um, for instance, in heart, GQ signaling cascade has shown to play a role in its function. And the previous research always shows using a global activator of this GPCR, and this would lead to a strong activation, but it would not tell us spatial and temporal. It was not done with spatial and temporal precision, and we required a tool which can provide us with the spatial and temporal precision, and with light we can achieve that because like we have the technology to switch on an LED with an millisecond precision
Mhm.
and then switch it off with a millisecond precision, and also we can determine how long this light can be switched on.
Okay.
So this is important because in reality and in a system physiological system, all these activation of GPCS happens in a millisecond range and also in a temporal location. For instance, like where there is a neuro muscular junction, like if that particular neuron releases this neurotransmitters, and this neurotransmitters are collected by the GPCs present in the muscular uh, surface, so then that particular region of the muscle will be activated. So this cannot be achieved with a global
A global
activator.
system.
Yes,
Right.
so it will activate everything in the vicinity. But with this light-based GPCR protein, we can target the light to a particular.
You could control the time and intensity as well as the microenvironment where you
Yes,
exactly want to control.
exactly. And also another advantage is like this can be genetically manipulated, and with the use of certain particular promoters, we can also express this protein in a certain cell type as well.
And from now, looking at the next 10 years, what do you guys actually plan to achieve?
So, in professional life, at least I want to step to industry and have a R&D role there. So still in research and development, want to stick to research life, but would like to go to more of an industry setup, which is a bit different than the research that we do in academia. This would be professionally and
Research in industry
yes.
or non-research?
I'm open to non-research positions as well, but as research has always been our love, and that's why we did our PhD, then continued with postdoc. That would be the
As
first
long as the
priority.
research
As
stinge is attached, you
yes,
are open to
yeah,
perform other tasks
yes,
also.
exactly.
That's good.
This is professionally, and in private situation, let's see. But we want to grow stronger as a family now, since we are a family of three. Want to give as best possible growing situation as best from our side to our child, and make him succeed as well in whatever he wants to do in future.
Okay, but stepping into the industry, do you think it's like academics what you do?
I
Do you
think
have any
it's
idea?
definitely different in the industry setup. Here we are talking about getting something to a market as the final goal. So, differences between academia and industry, one of it is going to be that in research, in academia, the research question that you ask is your own idea and you can do the way you want it to be. However, in industry, it comes from the top position that this is the end product that we want. The way you want to do it is up to you. Maybe you can play around a little bit, but we are bound to how much money you get, how many people you get, what instruments are you going to use. We are really bound to this.
It's more challenging.
More challenging to get that end product in a limited like ideas and source that you have. Apart from that, the flexibility that we would get in academia versus industry, it's going to be quite different. um, and in industry it's also going to be more of a, bigger teamwork, whereas in academia you of course need collaborators, you still need to work in a team, but still you are growing more as an individual as well. In industry also you will grow as an individual, but you will grow more further if you grow as a team. So you will have your assistants, you can tell them your idea, but at the end of the day it's going to be them executing the idea. Also the other major difference would be like in a academia, you would, the end product would be more of having a research article at the end of the day, which might go into actual use maybe a couple of years later. However, in the industry, what you're gonna do is gonna get into market as soon as possible. Sometimes maybe it goes through clinical trials and other phases, but it's gonna be something. For example, a drug. You are trying to find out a pathway and how this drug can help to like correct that pathway. If something is going wrong in a particular disease, it you find out, okay, this is the drug which works. It might go through clinical trial 1 2 3, but at the end of the day it might come to market really soon if all these stuffs work out to be.
For example, you in the industry, you work for one project, you owned it, and for 5 years, and somehow the management said decided to stop it. How do you feel?
I think coming from academia, it might feel not nice, discouraging in the beginning. But since industry also has its own advantages, maybe at
So industry survives on the basis of selling a product, right? So academia is like you believe in something, you want to test and hypothesis, you do your own research, and then you enjoy that, you own it, right? Completely under your control. As long as you convince the funding agencies and you get the funding and you continue your research. But the industry is is a survival. It's a survival process by giving value. We are providing value to the people. My question is, most of the researchers, like postdocs, for example, after working for more than 4 or 5 years, they're stepping into the industry. What I heard, the problems with the academic scientists, right? Closed, not talking, not communicating outside openly, frequently, and the most with most commonly understandable words. Oh no, what I heard, and maybe reserved, and a lot of such stuff. Owning the project and sticking or sentimentally to the project they are doing. These are all not negatives in my opinion, because that's how science is done. That's how science is done. This is science, right? When you stick with certain principles, ethics, and you are into your own world, because we are playing with the molecules. It's not like you ask me to give the graphs. What do you want, right? You literally have to prove in the lab whether the molecules are given the graph that you are showing, right? That's your ethical problem. That you delve into the deeps of the molecular systems, and when you analyzing the pathways, when you're reading publications, you always work with yourself more than anyone else. That's how we the scientists they're habituated to that. So suddenly, when you come to the industry, the management wants to be more open and bold. And if you don't show these characteristics in initial months, and you're going to have a tough situation with them. So how to deal with that? Either management should understand how a postdoc, at least with the 4 to 5 years of experience, what his or her mental status will be in academia. Then they need a little bit shift. They take time, or at the same time, scientists or postdocs also
need
can
to
understand,
adapt.
or while during the academia, whatever. So, what's your opinion on that?
I think even though in academia it is more you and your own ideas and you try to do by yourself, there is still a chance of networking there, either with your colleagues or with your neighboring lab or even some other collaborators. So I think that is the time where you should learn how to communicate and how to keep your point further, that you
But
can.
do they really have time? Second thing, of course, there are multiple options to really communicate and network. The first thing is, do we really have time? And second thing is, do we really feel like doing that? Because we are always engaged with our next result. What's going on in the laboratory? That will not allow you to be suddenly come out and bust and bust with cheers when you go to the networking events.
Yeah. That is true. I think you need to be super adaptive to the situation. If you want to move to industry, or if you go to industry, looking at the environment of how people are dealing with each other, you need to suddenly switch your nature to that. Otherwise, there is no way out.
What do you think, Uday?
I mean, like it's again like individual differences. Like each one thinks in a different way, and yes, like most of the scientists, as you said, like are quite reserved, and on the other hand, they don't have time to do it. But nowadays,
But
with this
again, I'm
current
not
different,
considering this as a negative because that is the basic
There is,
quality of a researcher. That's how it is designed.
yeah.
I wouldn't.
I
I
think it's
I beg to differ. Like yeah,
individual
it's like.
based.
I mean, I have known also several researchers like who are like outgoing, and then they used to also socialize much better then. So it's again like maybe you have seen a lot of people like where they are like much more reserved, but it again like differs from lab to lab, city to city.
The difference between a scientist and another job holder in a science, you face failure every day or for with every experiment. You have to deal with those regular failures. It's a 90 failures and 10% of
10%
success.
success.
I mean, as you know, always like in order to survive in any kind of profession, the main thing is the grit and the determination to
Yeah.
survive.
Especially when you are continuously, regularly failing,
Yeah.
and to adopt this kind of behavior like bold and cheering out and networking and with that, it's not that easy, right?
Yeah, I think it, I mean, it again differs from how person looks at it. Every person looks at the failures in a different way. So at least from so many years of experience, I have started looking problems more as challenges, that I am not looking at a problem to solve it, but rather I'm looking that, okay, it's like stepwise process. If I go one step further, I pass one challenge, and there is definitely going to be another challenge in front of me. But once I pass all these challenges, I might go to a better like height in my own career, which will help me. So
So, like the
the
proverb, like failures are stepping stones of success.
So, but here for every failure, every experimental failure that we usually regularly face, there are two things that you have to convince yourself and come out of that and plan the next experiment, how to deal with that. And the second thing is you have to explain that in the meeting.
yeah,
I
so
mean, that's like the meetings or like the interactions with the supervisor, like mostly like at least in our case, like they are also interested to solve this thing, and then they give us ideas of how to approach that obstacle or that problem, and mostly like it ends up in a positive ends up on a positive note after a few attempts, because like we are just not struggling by ourselves, like we are supported by our supervisors, and in some cases also from our colleagues, for instance other postdocs, and then also like like sometimes like when you also discuss your trouble with PhD or a master student, you kind of won't get to the answer, but at least
get an
get an
idea.
idea, and like out of the box thinking, like you are like secluded in a small environment and you are thinking in that direction, and then like speaking with them also gives you another perspective to approach that idea. In some cases, not always, but sometimes it works out
I
as well.
think we started looking at this situation so positively because from last years, in the beginning, maybe it was depressing to always see that, oh, this is not working, that is also not working, and something else is also not working. But with time, I think you start looking at this depression as more like, okay, there is a
Exactly, with the time.
problem. Yeah.
That's the reason why I want to actually do more podcasts with the scientists sitting together and share their experience, how many times they failed, so that at least the people who are at the master's thesis or in a early stage of PhDs or postdoc, they could realize, okay, this is not happening for us.
I think in the beginning you see those failures as depression and oh, it's not working,
Yes,
it's
I
not
mean, and
working.
again, like it
But
depends on like how the
after a
person
time,
was brought up, or like what obstacles they went through when they were growing up. Like again, like
Like traumas that they carry, you mean?
I wouldn't say as trauma. Like it's just
Those
the
past
history they
experience.
had before. Like it might be good, it might be bad, but like they all passed the stages, and like each individual has a different set of experiences growing up. Like I'm just meaning to say, like those sometimes kind of helps you to manage your current obstacles as well.
I mean, you have two options in front of you. Either you go and solve the problems and still try to figure out what to do next, or you back out.
So running away has two problems. If you are rich,
You survive.
you survive. If you are not rich, and you have to stay here.
And also one other thing everyone should be aware is like there is always help around. You just have to ask.
You should
And
learn to ask.
Yeah, and that's not a nature of every human. So for some people, it's like okay, just
Expect
go
to
and
for help, but they don't ask.
ask. So even my personality in the beginning, I was really shy, very shy girl, very shy to ask someone. Um, Asking someone was always for me like, have I done something wrong? And that's why I need to ask someone, and how would they take it as? Would they take it always as a negative point that oh, she doesn't know anything and that's why she's asking? But I think after a year or so I started understanding asking help is not just that it's a wrong thing. It
Asking help is a fun.
Yes, it can be a
Why not?
fun if asked in a
Ultimately, what we are going to get is just no
yeah.
or sorry, right?
Yeah, exactly. So there is no harm in asking
Yeah.
for help. So once I started understanding this and how interactions can be more helpful for yourself also, it started becoming more easier than just become being yourself and
Then you start enjoying what you're doing,
yeah,
and you're ready to face any failures.
yeah,
Okay, we can ask for help. That's cool. So, with that, I really thank you, both of you, for your time, and I wish you all the best for your personal as well as career lives. Right?
yeah. Thank you.
Congratulations once
Thank you
again.
for inviting us for
yeah,
your
thank you for inviting us for
podcast.
the
It's my pleasure.
podcast. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we wish you all the best for your future podcasts as well.
Thank you so much.
So good luck for your future
Thank you so
podcast.
much.